Race relations in America have come to a head this week with blackface dominating headlines. RT's Ashlee Banks is covering it today in her Race in America segment. Ashlee, what do you have for us?
Here we are in our first week of Black History Month, and this week's hot topic is blackface. The governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, Virginia's Attorney General Mark Herring, and college students at the University of Oklahoma have recently made headlines for participating in the offensive act of blackface. Gucci is even having to apologize after coming under fire for an item costing almost $900, which pulls over the lower half of the wearer's face while displaying what would appear to be blackface imagery. For those who are not familiar with the history of blackface, it's a form of theatrical makeup that was used by non-black performers to represent a cartoonish imitation of a black person. It was a practice that was popular during the 19th century and created simply because blacks weren't allowed to act. By the 21st century, blackface was no longer popular, but somehow it's becoming an issue once again. Joining me now to continue this conversation is artist, activist, and author of Please Not Just Another Acronym, but 5 Strategies to Success for Melanated People, Yarima Karama. Yarima, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I want to start with who in their right mind would think wearing blackface is ever okay, and why is this even an issue?
Well, race in this country has always been an issue, especially where we as black people are concerned. And quite frankly, I mean, it's just been a just demoralizing issue that continues to repeat itself because it's not really challenged in the way that it should be challenged.
Yarima, it seems that whenever this issue makes headlines, it's a white person, from Ralph Northam to the 2 University of Oklahoma students who wore blackface and used a racial slur in a video posted to social media. Am I missing something, or do we see this from any other racial groups, Asians, Hispanics, etc.? If not, why are we seeing it from this particular group of people?
Well, the truth of the matter is that they've had issues in South America with blackface. They've had issues not only in the Netherlands, but also in certain parts of China recently with blackface as well. And I think that this speaks to the larger volume. It's kind of like the N-word. It starts out with a certain group, but now it has spread out to other groups of people who feel comfortable demonstrating this type of behavior. Also, I think that we have to keep in mind that this can't just be relegated to Ralph Northam and a couple of students at Oklahoma. Billy Crystal did blackface, had to apologize. Ted Danson, the actor, did blackface. Mike Ertel, Florida Secretary of State, had to apologize and resign for doing blackface. The Governor Mel Carnahan of Missouri had to apologize in 2000 for blackface. So this is a symptom of a larger epidemic for us as black people in this country, and it has been. We have to remember that this started back in the 1830s, particularly became popular in New York and has spread. And again, it hasn't been challenged in the way that it should be.
And like you said, it's been happening for quite a while now. And to some people, they've tried to excuse their actions of wearing blackface by saying it was another time. And I want to go back to the case of Ralph Northam, who was seen wearing blackface back in 1984, and that was 35 years ago. But in the case of the 2 college students I mentioned earlier who received consequences for wearing blackface, it took place this year in 2019, and they could say 35 years from now, oh, that was a different time. But was it? When does that excuse no longer become acceptable?
Well, and this is again a smaller issue of a larger problem with race in this country and what we as black people have gone through. I mean, there's no place on planet Earth where you could do a video or where you could do any type of marketing with a Jewish person in an oven. I mean, you just couldn't do that. There would be so much backlash for something like that. And the reason that there would be so much backlash is because of the history. I think it's important for us Black History Month for me is not just February, the shortest month of the year. Black History Month for me, especially with the atrocities that black people have faced in this country, blackface is actually one of the smaller issues compared to when we talk about, lynchings, when we talk about Jim Crow, when we talk about black people being in human zoos. So these are just the lineage that hasn't been addressed in this country. And until these things are addressed on a global scale, it's going to continue to happen. And people are always going to come out 35, 40 years later when they're running for office and talk about, oh, well, I've grown from that, or I apologize. There has to come a point where your apology means nothing. Actions speak louder at this point than apologies.
And Yarima, a lot of people would agree with you. And I want to say something really quickly. A colleague said to me that the U.S. never educated racism away. Instead, the government just legislated away. And what you're saying here is education is key. We're going to have to leave it right there. That was Yarima Karama, activist, author, and artist. I'm Ashlee Banks. That's it for Race in America. Be sure to follow me at Ashlee M. Banks on Twitter. Manila.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.